Hello friends! So this video is going to be very different from the stuff that I normally make. I wanted to make an art project inspired by Sleeping Beauty, and especially since this movie was an animation, I wanted to test my own animation skills just to see what I could come up with. But in order to show this animation, I want to jump back to the very start of this process, which was over a month ago. So let's jump back to May 7th and go through this very time-consuming project. This here is my storyboard for this project. What I did was I recreated scenes from the movies in my own style, and what I wanted to do was to create like a specific frame for each of the characters to really embody their personalities. There's various colors, various techniques, and so I had to find a way to convert this image I'd sketched here into a digital creation. Anytime I create digitally, I'm doing a ton of adjustments. So it's not just like I put one thing on the screen. It requires a lot of editing, a lot of changing, and just trying everything until it works. Alright, and then here's Maleficent as the dragon. This I was very scared to approach, but it turned out a lot better than I thought. Apparently my art skills are better than I know. But yeah, same with this one, lots of adjustments, and with every one of these characters, what you're seeing here is not the final product. With every one of them had further adjustments later on that I just didn't film because it just wasn't necessary. And here's the wings, which the wings are on a separate layer, so they will move independently of the dragon, which will give it that more animated quality. Alright, and here is scene creation. So what you see in the final product looks a lot different from this, but I had to sketch out on the iPad what I wanted, get all the colors there, and then import it to the computer later on to get it finalized for the animation stage. So there's a lot of stages here. But yeah, Maleficent, she just had a very kind of stormy, like dramatic vibe, so that's what I went with. And yeah, same with everything else, tons of adjustments, because you can never go wrong with adjustments. This is technically the Phillip Scene, but the emphasis is more on Maleficent because, like, dragons are cool. But yeah, so it was essentially building the scene from the movie, but in the way that I would want it to be done. A lot of getting everything perfect, because if it's not perfect, then I'm gonna see those problems, even though a just casual viewer might not. During this time, the app that I was using kept crashing because I was really pushing the system, and it was so frustrating to have to start over and over and over again. And so the footage that I had captured for the background thing did not save, so pretty much the entire background is just getting that kind of waterfall look. And so here is the best that I could do, so you can kind of see that it's just sketching on layers and layers and layers. Alright, now we're into the adjustments for the Sleeping Beauty image. Every single blade of grass you see here is an individual sketch. In order to make the file easier to deal with, I kept trying to compile everything, which was a nightmare. This is one of the things that took me the most time, was just getting everything in the same groups, and you can just see, like, in the corner there how many layers this was. It was nightmare. Alright, and so for the fairy scene, this was inspired by a scene in the movie, but this particular image was one I created from scratch. I tried to do that for the majority of these scenes, to have the inspiration be the movie, but the actual design be my own. But that didn't always work out, like the dragon scene. Alright, and then here is on the computer, and this is working with the effects. So I did a lot of Gaussian blur, I think is how it's pronounced. That really created the depth of field that I was looking for. And then with this water here, I did not know what to do with it, so I'm just like, blur it out, I don't know. I was running out of time at this point, and I'm just like, I don't care anymore. But yeah, just experimenting with what's available. Alright, and so now we're finally animating. Each one of the hourglass shapes is a keyframe, and this controls movement, thus animating. The more you have, the more movement there is, essentially. It's kind of complicated, but... This is checking to make sure the movement reads correct. because I was really struggling with the wings. Like, they just wasn't lining up properly, and but I think I got it to a point where it works. All right, and here's the final run through, just making sure everything is okay. And I think there was like 70 layers or something in the animation process, and I had to animate every single one of those layers. Goodness, this was an intense project. All right, and so the official final render went fine, and you will see it in just a second. It is currently June 4th, so it took me just under a month to complete this entire process. You might be thinking, like, goodness, that's a long time. But that's actually fairly reasonable for animation projects. They do take work. Shush! I wanted to pay homage to the animated, free-drawing type of look compared to mine. And I tried that, and I think I succeeded. But gosh, my brain is mush at this point. But yeah, this was a really fun experience, and I like how the animation turned out. I don't love it because I was trying to do too much within the time frame that I had set up. It was 4 different songs spliced together in kind of an awkward way, so it's a little bit more of like a character introduction rather than a credits sequence. But yeah, I've rambled for too long, so that's all that I've got now. Stay tuned for what's coming up next, because I have a ton of ideas. Goodness gracious. I feel like there's just ideas popping out of my ears at any moment, because I'm just like, there's so much I could do. That's all I've got for now, so bye!